Good evening and welcome to Newsbite. I'm Hannah Durnford and making the headlines this week. Vet Joe Hollins informs us of animal diseases currently affecting the island. Shape hosts Commonwealth Day. We catch up with Green Wagon Enterprises. We hear about NASA's involvement with our weather station and your usual sports roundup. A mixture of warm and wet weather this year has seen the island's grass grow lush and livestock also looks healthy, but the excellent conditions mean that parasites are also thriving. The island's livestock are being struck by dangerous organisms, some causing death. We caught up with Senior Veterinary Officer Joe Hollins to find out a bit more.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic really, because this is an excellent year for grass growth and the cattle are looking nice and fat and sleek and sheep are doing well. But of course everything does well. It's warm and moist, and so the parasites are doing well, and the weeds and everything else. We've got a major problem on the island with a nasty worm, a gift from Africa, which is why we're so hot on biosecurity now. We don't want any more of these things. And it's called the barber's pole. And it's tiny, it's like a very thin cotton thread, not very long, about 1 centimetre, and you can only just see it. But because it sucks blood, it's got a spiral of blood down it, hence the barber's pole, which is a red spiral. And it's got like an arrowhead on the front. And a sheep or a goat, particularly sheep and goats, this affects, can have something like 100,000 of them, easy. In the stomach, not the intestine. And most farmers naturally assume if you've got a wormy sheep or goat, it's got diarrhoea. Not with this worm, it's in the stomach, not the intestine. With 100,000 or so little worms perforating little holes in the stomach and sucking out blood, these sheep and goats go white. We see lots of them, white, and then they die of heart failure. And we've got an excellent guide, it's a visual guide for looking under the eyelid, believe it or not, for farmers. It was developed for Africa, but it just gives you a little clue that they're becoming anemic before it's too late. So the barber's pole worm is rife on the island, all over the island. We can't get rid of it. You just have to worm every 4 weeks at the moment while we've got this warm, moist weather. Often we say 6 weeks or even 8 weeks, but at the moment every 4 weeks. But fly strike is when the blue bottles attack sheep. It's nearly always sheep, the woolly sheep. And just because it's warm and moist, they lay their eggs in the moist wool. Okay. And the maggots that hatch out destroy the animal. And we've had a number of deaths because of that. So you just have to be very vigilant, mainly sheep it is, not goats so much because they're not woolly. Very vigilant for, particularly around the rear ends, for flies sort of hovering around as if they're very interested. And then part the wool and you'll see the maggots, and you need to clip that wool off and get it all exposed. And if you can't get rid of the maggots, we've got insecticides that will do it. So a lot of sheep are being lost to fly strike at the moment, all because of the warm weather, you see. So that's another aspect.
How about the army worm?
The army worm's always interested me, yes. So the army worm's a moth, and you probably noticed at night if you leave the lights on now, or if you drive around in certain conditions with car headlights on, there's flocks of moths around. It's a moth that, again, it lays its eggs in the grass, and I think a lot of farmers will know army worm. You look across at a paddock, and there's quite a few paddocks showing this now, and despite all this rain and this lush green grass, you'll see a big area that's brown, and the grass is dead. It's dead. Because the army worm is a caterpillar. It's the moth's caterpillar. And if you part that brown grass, underneath you'll find lots of larvae, all cased, and lots of caterpillars munching away at the grass. Now the weird thing about it can be devastating for pasture. Fortunately in St. Helena it never wipes us out, but in Africa it can wipe out all their pastures, and they've got nothing to graze the animals on. The weird thing about it is that grass can kill cattle. Oddly, but actually logically, kikuyu grass, which is very common here, produces of all things cyanide if it's grazed by insects, and it's a defensive mechanism. So all that grass is loaded with cyanide, and if cattle are forced to eat that grass, if they've got no choice, no green grass to eat, or if it's cut and fed to them, they will die, and I've seen a case here.
Joe also warned of grass daggers caused by a magnesium deficiency in the grass. After consumption, the cattle may begin to stagger and twitch. There have also been cases where the deficiency also leads to heart failure and sudden death. If farmers experience any of these problems or want to know more about prevention, they are asked to contact the veterinary service. Commonwealth Day is celebrated on the second Monday in March every year. This year, SHAPE hosted the event at their premises in Sandy Bay. The day started off with speeches by officials, and later school children were invited to take part in some of the craft activities that SHAPE undertake. We spoke to SHAPE's Jill Burke about the day.
So, what have you been up to today?
Well, as you probably know,
Yes.
which is why you're here,
Yes.
Commonwealth Day is celebrated on the second Monday each March, and we were lucky enough to be asked this year if we would host it, because the theme for this year's Commonwealth Day is an inclusive Commonwealth. And of course, SHAPE is very inclusive of everything.
Yeah.
The affirmation, the Commonwealth affirmation, talks about, celebrating diversity, etc. That's what we do, and I think the Commonwealth affirmation could have been written for SHAPE. And we've just been showcasing really what we do here today, how inclusive we are, how much we rely on our volunteers, our trainees, our staff, board members, members of the public, just to keep us ticking over really.
Green Wagon Enterprises Blue Hill is an agriculture business set up and run by couple Steve Evans and Joan Peters. The business produces courgettes, aubergines, melons, and a variety of herbs, using hydroponic technology under protective polytunnels. Steve explained how the idea came about.
When Joan and I first returned to the island in about 4 years ago, we had some property in Sandy Bay initially, and we planned on building a couple of homes out there. And in the meantime, we decided we would try to grow a bit of food for ourselves. So that's sort of what got us interested in growing in agriculture, because neither one of us actually came from an agricultural background. So we did. We planted a bit of garden out there with limited success. We were dealing with the elements and chickens running around, and goats and stuff like that. So we had limited success, but we did grow a bit of our own food, and it just got us more and more interested. And also, as you know, you go in the shops even today, and there's many times you go in and you really can't find fresh produce. And so that was another thing that prompted us to carry on with it. And then along about that same time, the partnership program through ANRD, we're looking for people that were interested in taking them up on that partnership and getting into agriculture and trying to upskill and upgrade and just enhance the state of the agricultural industry on the island. And so we started looking into that and made some inquiries and got the paperwork and did a lot of reading about it, and decided that we could take this beyond just our own kitchen garden and then actually maybe go and look into it from a commercial standpoint and be a provider for the island.
How is it dealing with hydroponic, and why did you choose to go this route?
Well, the 1 week course that we took was very intriguing, and in many areas of this island, growing outside is really a challenge. You're faced with even more challenges than what I've mentioned in the covered production. I think that this does protect you from the elements considerably. It doesn't protect from insects. Some people do assume that it does, but no, there's plenty of ways for insects to get in here. But we just felt like it was, we don't have a large piece of land that's suitable for arable farming. Mm-hmm. So we did have this piece of land that is perfect for 2 tunnels. So we said, well, let's do the tunnels, and then the hydroponic thing just kind of came as a consequence of being exposed to it through the course that was taught here, and it is intriguing. I think it's the way forward for a lot of people that don't have acreage mm-hmm. to grow outside.
So how does it really work, the hydroponic method?
Well, these 2 tanks are each 5,000 liter tanks, and what we generally do is keep just water in one, and the other one we fill, and this is where we mix the nutrients. And the fertilizer comes in granular form, mm-hmm. and you mix it, dissolve it, and then put it in with the 5,000 liter water tank, and it's pump driven. The gray box up there has a timer in there, and you set the time that you want that system to come on, the pump to come on, and the first cycle stirs the 5,000 liter tank, mm-hmm. Mixes it all up, and then for a period of time, and then it runs into each of the 8 trenches that we have here, and it's just a drip feed. It's pump driven, not gravity fed. It's basically a swimming pool pump is what that is, just a circulation pump. And this system, there's different methods of hydroponic, but this system is a trench, it's a drain. It drips into the pots, the plants receive the nutrients, and you strive for like a 10% runoff, and that way you know for sure that the plants are getting as much as they need and a little bit more.
How successful has Green Wagon been since you started?
Well, it's been surprisingly successful. From a standpoint of our products don't stay on the shelf very long. They're in demand. We wish we could provide more. It's just my wife and I and 2 tunnels. And the demand is definitely there. And we can't meet the demand that there is now.
The island's Met Office has confirmed that NASA is hoping to send scientists to the island. Met Office Station Manager Laurie Bennett issued this statement.
Yes, I'm pleased to confirm that NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center are aiming to send scientists to St. Helena to install a device known as a photometer. This will measure aerosol properties for satellite validation. In collaboration with the UK Met Office, this is fantastic news for meteorological operations on St. Helena, and we're very much looking forward to working with such a high-profile organisation.
NASA contacted the Met Office on St. Helena a few weeks ago and are now aiming to send equipment to the island. This is in collaboration with the UK Met Office and is the first step towards Project Clarify, which has been rescheduled to 2017 for the St. Helena visit. Clarify is a major consortium programme consisting of 5 principal UK universities, with project partners from the UK Met Office, European universities and research institutes. This work is being planned in conjunction with parallel activities from NASA and other US programs, and is supported by many European and international partners, making Clarify a truly international, high-profile, high-impact project. The island's Met Station is looking forward to working with NASA and being a part of the forthcoming project. Here now is Damien Obey with your Sports Roundup.
Thanks, Hannah. Cricket and volleyball went ahead on the weekend despite unpredictable weather. Golf, however, was affected. Bad weather on Sunday meant that only one round of the late Arnold Flagg Challenge Cup could be played. 17 players began the tournament on Saturday, but Sunday's rain means that the final round was rescheduled. Norman Thomas's par round of 68 on Saturday means he's leading the way. He is closely followed by Hensel Beard and John Joshua, who hit 3 shots adrift on 71. On to cricket. St. Helena must be the only place in the world where cricket is still played in torrential downpours. All of the weekend's fixtures went ahead. Sandy Bay Pirates were victorious over Western B Warriors on Saturday morning. Warriors lost far too many early wickets and were reeling at 25 for 5 after 9 overs. Eddie Duff produced the captain's innings of 35 and somewhat salvaged some pride for Warriors, who eventually posted 89. Ryan Belgrove took 4 wickets for 10 runs before combining with Matthew Benjamin to produce a brutal display of hitting that saw Pirates chase down the target with ease. Belgrove finished unbeaten on 48 and Benjamin 34. St. Matthew's Lions convincingly defeated Half-Yahalo Dolphins by 6 wickets in Saturday's second T20 fixture. Philip Stroud and Russ Leo bagged 3 wickets apiece as Lions bowled Dolphins for 65. Lions reversed their batting order and their lower order batsmen duly knocked off the score. Caelan Crowley's 24 was the top score. On Sunday, All Stars came out on top in the Leverwood Derby, despite Brooklyn Fowler smashing an unbeaten 57 and taking Rebels to 112. In the run chase, Gareth Johnson struck 64 and Dane Leo 21 as All Stars reached the required target in 15 overs. The final match of the weekend saw Jamestown Barracudas restrict St. Paul's B to 112 for 6 in 20 overs. Cliff Richards hit 31 and Derek Richards 25. Gavin Barlow took 2 for 16 before striking an unbeaten 77 to see Barracudas across the line in 9 overs. Finally, ladies volleyball. Survivors continued their good run of form and took victory over Volley Diggers after a thrilling 3-set match. Marie Jonas was lady of the match. The second match was another close affair. St. Sadas came out on top after good volley Miss Molly took them to 3 sets. Penny Bowers was lady of the match. That's it for the sports this week. Back to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Damien. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of Newsbite. Be sure to tune in again next week. I'm Hannah Durnford, and thank you for watching.